So when, like on day one, when you envisioned WatchMojo, and now we're on day, well, I don't even know, I can't do that math, but is it at all what you had envisioned?
Probably day 5,000-ish. Yes and no. I mean, the reason why I couldn't envision the 20 million subs is because when we launched, YouTube had just launched as well. It wasn't this dominant kind of website and platform. So, I mean, in some ways, I did think that we would build a successful media company. But did I think we'd be kind of like a pop culture, you know, curator of top 10 lists and, you know, serving fans of movies and TV? Not really. I thought we'd be kind of producing a video on every topic to kind of serve the insatiable demand of audiences. But I mean, you got to be realistic that in 2006 when we launched, we were around the same, you know, we were born around the same time as YouTube. Nobody really anticipated YouTube to be as dominant as they've become.
I mean, this is kind of redundant, but do you consider WatchMojo to be a success today?
I mean, I know I say we're the scrappy, unknown startup that nobody knows and we got to work twice as hard. And I mean that because I think success is like relative, subjective, and fluid, meaning you're going to compare yourself, whether you want to admit it or not, to other things. And I think your definition of success changes over time. And I also think that in our case, I think we probably are more successful than we think than we are, because being in Montreal and Canada, that's just very Canadian of us.
And well, I don't know about you, but I don't get recognized, like, ever.
Well, I'm not on camera. I think the reason with you is because it's more the voice. Because even now when we do like videos where you're in it, they're like face reveal. I will tell you this, I get when, let's say you're at Costco and they're like, do you want the Costco card? And once every 10 times I'm like, ah, sure, why not? And now they'll ask for an email or where I work, and if I mention WatchMojo, they're like, oh, wow, you work at WatchMojo. And then they're like, I didn't know WatchMojo had an office here. I'm like, yeah, we're here. And then they're like, what's your title? And I'm like, president or whatever, editor-in-chief. And then they're just like worlds colliding, that like WatchMojo is based in Montreal and something, you know, that they follow online and colliding in the real world. So, yeah, I thought we'd be a successful media company, but I think anybody that says, oh, we'd be one of the larger channels on YouTube is lying, because YouTube wasn't really a thing when we launched.
Yeah. In what ways is WatchMojo more successful than you anticipated, and in what ways have we not gotten to where you expected?
Look, so I think YouTube is a fantastic platform and I love it, but I think that probably we are more successful in terms of like curating, taste making. I think we still don't appreciate that. I was at a conference and this media studies professor came up to me and she was just saying like how much they looked at our clips, and this is a testament to you guys and the work you put into every video, but she was kind of talking about like how much they look at our videos and how a lot of people may not invest the time to watch Game of Thrones, for example, but they'll watch our videos on Game of Thrones so they know. Oh
yeah, I saw on Twitter that you kind of were communicating with a teacher who had a video of her students actually watching like an educational video of ours, and I just love that. Yeah. Like I
mean, when we launched, that was the idea, right? Inform and entertain. And it just so happens that on YouTube, we really doubled down on serving fans of movie franchises. However, I think we probably could have done a better job was actually just, despite that example of the teacher and all that, is maybe off YouTube. I think we've done a very good job relative to other YouTubers to kind of be diversified in other places. But compared to what I envisioned initially to start a media company, we are very YouTube-centric, and that's fine. I love YouTube, and I think YouTube's a great platform, but it is very one-dimensional.
Right, and we haven't bought the baseball team yet, so.
Not yet, which is initially was to bring back the Expos.
Just call Stephen Brockman.
He's right here.
That's inside baseball.
He's in the green room right now.
What would you like, now you have your platform here, although you always have a platform, what do you want to say to our viewers and subscribers?
No, I mean, it's very simple. I mean, we obviously thank you guys for being, you know, so supportive over the years. I think what people forget is that there's been a lot of like channels and creators that come and go. I think we've been up there in terms of like one of the top 50 biggest channels of all time now for 4 or 5 years, which is kind of hard to stay on top. Like in 2014, we were the 7th largest channel that year. But, you know, and it's fine. It's great as more and more people embraced YouTube. You know, the irony is when we started doing especially the top 10s, you know, previous to that we were doing all different kinds of videos, travel reviews, cooking recipes, you know, makeup
What are you
tips,
talking about?
Yoga.
Now's the time to shape your balls. No.
You know, lots of different stuff, interviews. But when we started doing top 10s, I was kind of like a bit burnt out. It had been 5, 6 years that we were trying to figure out like how to build a successful media company. And I was really just doing videos that I enjoyed. I liked top 10 lists, and I liked all that iconic.
Top 10 Def Leppard songs,
Not
top
just
10
that.
Black Sabbath.
Not just that, I mean that for sure, but like just like, you know, top 10 like defining moments of the 60s and 70s, or like discovering new acts or movies. I love that. I you know, that was what I kind of grew up watching. And so I was kind of creating stuff that I liked, and then it turned out that a lot of other people liked that too. And when people are like, oh, you guys invented top 10 lists, I'm like, we did not invent top 10 lists. Wayne's World, Letterman's, and obviously Moses and the 10 Commandments. So it's kind of a format that always existed, and we kind of, you know, took it to the next level. So we just want to thank you, and I actually missed the days when I had a bit more time to actually duke it out in the comment section.
Mr. X.
Mr. X. And then just kind of like, you know, that's ages ago, if you remember that.
That is old.
That is old, yeah. So that's the thing, we just thank you for being loyal over the years, and, you know, I think sometimes it's funny when people view us as like the big corporation, because relative to other YouTubers, we are a bigger operation. But I mean, we kind of ultimately were fans of the content like you guys. So thank you.
Can fans expect anything new in the future?
Well, we're always doing new stuff. I think, you know, if you go back through our history, we've experimented and pushed the envelope. And I would say, you know, last year we launched Plays to go deeper and give fans of gaming things beyond top 10 lists. I think last year, then in the second half of the year, we launched Travels. We just thought that like there was like a, you know, as a traveler fan, you know, as a fan of travel, as someone who likes to travel, is what I'm trying to say, I felt like there was a little bit of like a void in the marketplace. You could read a few articles, and there's a lot of vloggers who are doing great things. But if I want to know like what beach should I go to in, you know, in the Caribbean, I kind of felt that like same way that like 8-9 years ago I was like, I want to do top 10 lists. I just felt like there was a need there. And
plus, so I haven't been challenged enough on pronunciations.
There you go, exactly. That's a good point. And so what fans can expect is we are launching, which is again a bit of a curveball, a bit counterintuitive, is we're going to be launching a new brand that is, I would say, essentially a business brand centered on entrepreneurship. And I think the reason for that is, you know, before venturing into entertainment and pop culture, that's probably the one vertical that I was most passionate about. And I think if you look at where society is in 2019, entrepreneurship isn't fringe anymore. It's a lot more mainstream. There's a lot more kids who grow up that want to be entrepreneurs.
Well, everybody has to be an entrepreneur.
Well, I would say everybody has to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah, okay,
but I don't think everybody is actually an entrepreneur. And I think that's kind of what we've seen. And, you know, stay tuned, stick around, and we'll talk more about that. And I think it'll make a good portion of of our fans happy, because they may be thinking about that you know, career path. But I also think it'll serve a whole other audience that, you know, is either an executive that realizes they want to be an entrepreneur, or it's a teenager that says, you know what, I know what I want to do. I want to do my own thing.
Okay, so we've been working together since 2007. And so I'm sure there have been a lot of crazy memories within that time.
I mean, you know, you just said something which is weird and unique. So my wife and I, Christine and I, we started the company. We recruited 3 other dudes, Raph, Kevin, and Derek. You and Veronica joined. Veronica's not with us anymore. Stephanie is still with us. She's in Toronto. Dan and Mike. And so by and large, it's the same crew, which is very rare. My wife and I still work together. She doesn't totally hate me. And now we've grown to about 60, 70 employees. That's really rare. That alone, I think, deserves.
And now like, I've even brought my family.
There you go. Yeah. Your sister's here. And so like Watch Mojo is a very unique and different thing. That said, okay, weird memories. Oh my God. Well, when we sat in these chairs to do this, I was thinking how we used to basically have
a brick wall on like stools.
And we would actually, you would do voiceover behind a wall. Yeah. And you were not even not even in a separate room. Now, granted, this is like 10 years ago. That was crazy.
It was crazy, and it was in those days when keyboards were really loud, and like, people would be typing, and you have to be like, "Can you type quieter, please?"
And this was still when people called each other, so the phone did ring, and occasionally we'd forget to turn off. And this was
like Ash had to call HP because he was mad at Hewlett Packard for some tech thing that we.
And there were probably some skits that we did early on that was inspired to that. So what are a couple of crazy people you interviewed?
Oh, nuts.
Gwar.
Yeah, Gwar was a crazy interview. I interviewed them more than once, but they, you know, those band in a mask, or like mascot uniforms kind of thing.
Candice Bergen?
Yeah, they called me a young Candice Bergen, which I'll take.
You remind me of a young Candice Bergen.
I've been called worse.
Me too. On the comment section. Oh my God, I can't even think. I mean, I had the worst interview, and I think we all know this because it's on the internet. maybe I won't name names, but it was someone who really, well, it was Brent Spiner who played Data on Star Trek, The Next Generation, and he was not, I think it's just his sense of humor, but he was like not having, he didn't want to talk about Star Trek.
Was it difficult to play someone who was supposed to show no emotion?
Nope.
Which is kind of like...
And I was like, okay, so cool, let's talk about that movie you did with Jack Lemmon on a boat or something.
The feeling you two are going to be trouble. Oh.
And so that was interesting.
Yeah, that was good. And then we moved away from interviews because you had interviewed... Actually, the funny one is when we interviewed Lady Gaga. And it was... It
wasn't me, though.
It wasn't you, but it was the first... You interviewed Justin Bieber.
I did.
Which just shows you
yes,
how
I've hugged
long
Justin
ago.
Bieber.
No comment. The funny thing is the Lady Gaga interview where the young gal that was doing the interview, she would be looking at the camera as she was asking the question.
She like won a VJ contest.
I don't doubt it. Yeah. But the funny thing is for Lady Gaga to be like, this is some up shit. You know that it must have been a bit off the rails.
When you were younger, you used to idolize Michael Jackson and Cyndi Lauper. Who do you admire now?
All right, cool, thanks.
Wow.
And that's how that is done.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?